Good morning, Codger Biker here, and I'm a tubeless guy. Oh, first of all, this was not a video I'd ever intended to make, but after my excursion to Peterborough the weekend and a lovely ride on a Transalp, what a bike that is. I love that bike. Inner tubes? No. I've had so much flack from people telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Tube tyres are fine, better than tubeless wheels and blah 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 blah. So I've constantly been answering comments on that, rather than talk about what a great bike it is. And it's a fantastic bike. I could definitely feel the difference to when I got on my 500X this morning. Nothing wrong with the 500X, but that just had that bit more and felt like it was built for me, if that makes any sense to anybody, anywhere ever. But I simply won't buy one with inner tubes. I won't ride with inner tubes. That's the bottom line. And people say, oh, you're stressing about it and all the rest of it. I'm not stressing about it. I'm just not going to do it. And I'm not telling everybody else in the world not to do it. I'm not Jean-Paul Sartre, who thinks every choice has to be made for the whole of humanity. It's just a personal choice. I have mentioned a few times that I did work as a tyre fitter for 1 year, amongst other things, a garage in the 80s, when inner tubes was still common on cars. And one of the things we used to do regularly was someone would come in with a tubeless tyre and they go, oh, can you just stick a tube in it, mate? These tubeless tyres are useless. So we used to do that. Don't know why he was a cockney, but anyway. So we used to do that quite often. Now that, with modern tyres, is a bit of a stupid idea, or it's okay to get you home or whatever, but because the tubed tyres are ribbed on the inside, it causes quite a lot of friction on an inner tube and can cause it to overheat and even disintegrate. But even in that case, I would argue that you're not going to be as bad off if you've got a tubeless wheel with a tubeless tyre with maybe a nail hole in it and the inner tube goes, because it will still not blow out, most likely. I mean, you can never say for certain. So anyway, let's just get back to the main point for me. Now, I've had bikes with inner tubes. I've still got one that's got inner tubes, but I would never take that onto a fast road. Basically, it's not capable of it. But even when I got my 690 Enduro, I used to go down the motorway on that, and that really did bother me. The slightest movement of the back wheel, you think, oh, is that a puncture? Or the front wheel felt a bit off, oh, is that a puncture? Because if you get a puncture on a tube tyre, you are then in danger of the inner tube, which is a lot thinner than a tyre, just falling to pieces. And then, yeah, you don't want to be riding a motorbike on a British smart motorway, which are horrendous. Stupid idea, but we're stuck with them, and I have to use them. I can't avoid them. It's bad enough in a car where you've got four wheels, but when you're on a motorcycle, if you lose the front wheel at speed, then it's not going to be good, is it? And yes, there are risks, of course, of riding any motorbike is a risk. I'm not that naive, but I guess we're in the business of limiting the risk the best we can with training, the way we ride, maintaining the bike and the equipment on the bike. So that's my opinion on it. Yes, you can put sliming in it and it might work, but in my experience in the early days of that stuff coming out, it just didn't work with inner tubes. Inner tubes would just rip and it just pour out, and then your mechanic, when you went to the garage, was not very pleased at all with the mess that was in there. And I have used that spray foam sometimes, that works to re-inflate a tyre, but it's not permanent. And generally, I find anyway, or I certainly found back when it first came out, that with inner tubes it very rarely works very well. So I always carry a dyno plug and a charge pack which has got a compressor built into it, because it's my experience that a puncture can strike at any moment, and has done quite a few times in the last couple of years, not just to me but also to people that I'm riding with. Dr. J and I were in Derbyshire having a lovely day, and I just happened to notice there was a screw poking out the back of his tyre, so we fixed that at the side of the road and got him home safely. So it would have been very inconvenient for both of us if he'd have had inner tubes and we'd have had to sit at the side of the road for 3 hours while the AA turned up. I could have left him, of course, but I wouldn't do that. So yeah, although I'm a member of the AA and doubtless they would come and collect the bike, I prefer to deal with things myself, and I also prefer, if possible, like riding, to look ahead, prepare for this van, for instance, this ambulance pulling in front of me, just to be aware of what's possible. An inner tube blowout at 80 miles an hour on a smart motorway is probably not going to be survivable. That's just my thoughts. So you feel free to do what you like. I know all about using inner tubes off-road. Of course they've got the place there, but I'm not talking about off-road riding. This is my road bike. Also, mousses and homemade tubeless type things, all well and good, possibly would convert your wheels to tubeless, but if you did have an accident, and I can assure you the investigators would come round, you're giving them an out straight away if it's not a homologated wheel. Not saying that for 1 second that tubeless wheels and tyres are infallible, of course they're not, but they are certainly a much better risk. Take a look around. When was the last time you saw a car with inner tubes in it? I would bet every car virtually for 100 miles around me has got tubeless wheels. They're stronger, lighter, deal with the heat better. They just don't get as hot as heavy duty inner tubes inside a heavy carcass of an off-road tyre. This have gone mesh. Some said it would never happen. There's my leather jacket. I think I kind of overlaid, if you know what I mean. I've got your mesh top and your mesh gloves. I was always very tentative about it, so I bit the bullet, spent nearly £2 and had some proper tubeless wheels made for it and fitted tubeless tyres to that, and almost immediately got a puncture, which I fixed at the side of the road in a few seconds with a dyno plug and pumped up with my rechargeable air compressor, which is how I roll, folks. As I say, I'm not choosing for the whole world, I'm only choosing this for myself. Plenty of people rode their entire lives on inner tubes and lived to tell the tale with no issues whatsoever. But when you work in a tyre place, you see all sorts come in from day to day. You get a lot more years experience of people's lives with tyres and the risks they'll take to save a few quid and the consequences. I've seen cars that we've recovered, not with bodies in, but with the let's say the evidence of what happened inside that vehicle when it went off the road, and that's in a car. And unlike Jean-Paul Sartre, who claimed that every time we make a choice we choose for the entire world, I just don't agree with that. We choose for ourselves. Who's doing the choosing? Who knows? Socialization, language, evolution, your guardian angel if you're religious, who knows? I can't tell the answer to that, but as much as I'm aware of my choosing, I choose to ride tubeless all the time, 100%, and I'm not changing. So I hope that explains my thinking on it. and you do what you like. It did strike me that it's only the Japanese, for whatever reason, that seem to be holding out with inner tubes. Even the Chinese bikes, you can generally get a cheap tubeless spoked option, whereas the Japanese bikes tend to be the ones that the Tenere, the V-Strom 800, the Transalp, those seem to be the bikes that are going around with inner tubes in them. It's just kind of symptomatic to me of a bit of a malaise in the Japanese bike industry. It's almost like they've given up. So yeah, it seems to be the Japanese that for whatever reason are falling behind in terms of development. Most GPs seem to be won by the European bikes at the moment, and I think most European adventure bikes, guess what, come with tubeless tyres. So come on Honda, just give us a cast wheel option. I'd be quite happy with a cast wheel for the same price. Cast wheels are supposed to be cheaper than spoked wheels anyway. And don't get me wrong, spoke wheels have got their place, but it's becoming ever more specialised. So for now, no Transalp. For me, my lovely Scarlet Yo Honda. That's right, Scarlet. You've nothing to worry about. Trundling along on my tubeless wheels. On that note, hope that helps. If anyone asks me about tubeless wheels again, I'm just going to refer them to this video. YouTube if you want to. Codger Biker is out.